Welcome back, C3 Squad. Excited for you guys to hear this brand new episode of the C3 podcast. But I wanted to come on a little bit early and kind of explain to you this is kind of a different format for the podcast. So this one's going to be broken up into two episodes. So the special guest host, Mr. David Rhodes, him and I go way back. We went to A&C together, went to college together, and we had a lot to catch up on. So much so that we talked for about 4 hours. And so obviously chopping up the content was a little crazy. So I wanted to chop it up and get it to you in two parts. And this one's going to be very interactive. So the first part, your typical interview style. The second part, which is going to drop in about a week, we go into what our top 10 is. Top 10 greatest rappers of all time. And I want this to be interactive, so I want to hear from you. Don't forget to sign up for the C3 Squad hotline. Text me, let me know what you think. What's your top 10? What you think of my top 10? What you think of David's top 10? 909-487-8741. Without further ado, let's get to the pod. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Cocktails, Code, and Conversations, or as you know, I affectionately call it the C3 podcast. And special guests, because you know all my guests on this podcast are special, but you will notice it's a little bit different. Don't have the same setup. So he won't get his applause like he normally does, but just pretend like you're hearing applause, David, because I'm gonna do it on a post edit, get you some nice applause. But welcome to the show. Always let my guests give them a little bit in the beginning to introduce themselves. Introduce yourselves to the people.
What's going on, everybody? My name's David Rhodes. I'm a North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University graduate.
Aggie, probably.
Class of 2004, computer science. Man, we're old, aren't we?
Hey, man, you speak for yourself. I ain't claiming that.
Yeah, you're going to have to at some point, my brother. You're going to have to, my brother.
I know.
I can remember the moment when I realized I was old. The moment that I realized that I was old was I was at work and they were talking about 9/11 and about the memories of 9/11. And one of the new professionals, the new hires that I just brought in, came up to me and was like, "I was 7 years old when 9/11."
Oh.
And that was the moment that I realized.
Well, this is the moment you just made me feel old. God, dog, 7?
Listen, man, because it's kind of crazy because it's been so long.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about a lot of the events that we've lived through, you know, including what we're dealing with now. Like my kids are going to remember what they're dealing with now, right?
Most definitely.
But for us, that was 9/11. But now we got 9/11 and this, right? So. You know, so it's just crazy to think. But that was the moment.
Yeah, that'll do it. But I mean, you know, on that topic though, it's crazy if you think about it, right? So look at what we've seen, like just in the last 20 years with that. So if you take in 9/11, COVID, what happened at the Capitol, right? Yeah. It's just there's gonna be a generation who's just like, damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you lived through some shit.
Yeah. Listen, man, like you can't make this up.
Nah.
Like, could you imagine when you thought about the beginning of 2020, you would say, yeah, man, we're gonna be stuck in our house for months. And we're gonna be scared to like just go to the store.
Right.
And then even through all that, and then folks will actually be fighting about the fact that they can't go to the store. And then when you get to the point of no returns, then you got folks out here mad about an election and they out here trying to storm the Capitol. Right. Like you couldn't write this shit in a novel.
No way. Nobody would believe it. But like, look, I started out my 2020 like going to the NBA, my first ever NBA All-Star game.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, this year's gonna be, I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm with my boys. We in Chicago, cold as hell. Like cold as I don't know what. But I'm like, yo, this is what's up. Like it was like, I was like, this is really gonna be a great year. Nah, brother, it went all down here from that moment.
Well, for me, it was kind of crazy because I go to a lot of concerts. Like since I've been up in the Northeast, I hit a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So I was starting to, get my schedule right for what shows I was going to go to for the year. And so February rolls around. I got to meet Lauryn Hill. I got to see Lauryn, and I got to see her live in concert. So me and my wife got to meet Lauryn Hill, which is pretty awesome.
That's fantastic.
I went to the Rhapsody was touring, right? And this is when like COVID was like starting to bubble.
Right.
Like Boston had their first case the same day that Rhapsody was supposed to go and perform. Like she was headlining an all-female show. Like it was
right.
Rhapsody, Ciroc, and Heather Victoria. So she's headlining her tour for Eve. And I'm sitting here and like we're not at that point, we're not understanding what COVID is yet, right? So like I'm thinking, oh, it's only one. We should be okay. We're good. And then and I went to the show and it worked out. And then later on that month, me and Marcus, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you remember Marcus. Yeah. So me and Marcus, we went to go see De La Soul, Camp Low, and Diggable Planets in Connecticut. And then then a couple weeks right after that, we were shut down. It was over. That was it.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 has left the building.
Oh my God, 2020 entered the chat, and I'm like, oh. And it's been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah, it definitely has, man. I look back on it, and it was for me personally, like number one, I was obviously blessed enough to stay healthy through it. My family was healthy through it relatively. Like the end of the year, I broke my ankle, my mom broke her shoulder, but I mean, no COVID. But it was just, like I said, it started out on this high for me, like started off going to the All-Star game. I was like, man, this is great. This is dope. And I was able to take my uncle, who he had never been to an All-Star game, and it was in Chicago, right? So he was, the last time it was in Chicago was when I think Jordan was playing at the time. It was in Chicago. It had been forever, and he had always been kicking himself that he didn't go then, right? So he was like, I gotta go. I was like, I got you. Let's go, right? So it started off on this great high, super cool. I'm like, yeah, man, like just gonna do a lot of this year, travel, doing a bunch of stuff. Then COVID starts kicking in. At the time, I was working at a company that I will not name because y'all can go look at my LinkedIn and figure it out. And I hated it, absolutely hated it, horrible. I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. So I go from, All-Star game, super memories, leaving that job, COVID hits, and then it actually rolled me into, this, right? I was already doing my podcast or whatever, but, I just rolled with it. I said, I'm gonna take a step back. I've done, well enough to where I don't need to go looking for something else right away. I can kind of take a step back and chill. And plus, with everything COVID going on, I was like, I'm gonna just take this time to kind of really just inventory what I want to do. I dove into this, man, and creating the podcast, meeting new people, kind of getting into this kind of content creator game or whatever, doing some more stuff that I love to do and finding like that passion back again, to where when I did find this position I have, it was actually, when they called me about it, it was something I was like, yeah, like I've got that excitement again. I think, part of it too was like, I realized that being in tech for as long as I have now, like I was burnt out a little bit, right? Because it was the same shit, different day, right? It didn't matter what company it was all this stuff or whatever. And I was losing that excitement for why I even got a computer science degree, why I've even done half the stuff that I've done so far. It was like that pure curiosity of creating something and kind of going forward. I gotten so, dug into the business bullshit of it that I was like, I'm done with it. So, but it wasn't done with me yet. So, picked up another position, love the company. It's been going good. So 2020 was very reflective for me, really, in that sense. As with all the madness and craziness going on, it really allowed me to excuse the pun, kind of live in my own little bubble and kind of, realize some things and do some things. So on one end, I'm kind of grateful for it, but on the other end, I'm like, I'm cool if we never speak of it ever again in life. Like we can just take it out of the record books. It's like 2019, 2021. Like what happened?
Well, no, I can't. But the thing is, you see, you're saying that, but I can't even say that yet. I cannot say that yet. Like, I cannot say that yet. I'm not ready to go there yet, because I'm still out here dealing with COVID on a day-to-day basis. Like, in my line of work, like I'm a manager. So I gotta deal with COVID if somebody gets it within my group.
Right.
And then I gotta worry about the impact of that. Because, and the thing is, I've already had to make the tough decision. Like, when I had somebody that got it, and I pretty much said, all right, who do close contact? They gave me the list, and I was like, all right, everybody go home.
Right.
And then they were like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I am. Go home. You know, so I'm like, I'm not gonna be here. And here comes my wife bringing me gifts. Oh Lord. All right, I'll deal with this later. Thank you. So so when it comes to that, like, it was just, you know, I'll make the decisions that I need to make, whether people are gonna agree with it or not.
Yes.
I gotta do what's the right thing to do right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Circumstances.
So talk to me a little bit about that, though, right? Because so number one, I don't know what you do now, right? Obviously, I know you have a computer science degree. We went to A&T together. We were in the same program. But talk to me a little bit about what your day job is, what you do day to day, and like how COVID has changed or impacted that. I mean, obviously, you gave us a little bit about that right there, but just overall, how has it changed? Okay, your day to day.
Well, before I get into the details of what I do now, what if I told you that the last time I did any code was almost 10 years ago?
I would believe it, because it's the same here. Like I made the jump to the dark side.
Well, no, all right. So let's make it better. Let's make it better. What if I told you that out of the first 5 years of my career, when I started my job, I'm out of coding for 3 months. Tops.
Okay, now that's a different story.
Yeah. So like, you know, when I first, because I work at the same company I always worked at. Like, when I was in college, I worked at I was a summer intern. I interned at IBM, and then the second 2 summers I interned at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, because they were paying that tuition.
Right.
So I had to come back up here for 2 years.
Gotcha.
And I ended up, you know, so initially I was like, all right, I'll come here, I'll do my 2 years, and I'm out. And then, like, so the first two, yeah. So and I never left. Like, I stayed up here. So, like, you know, I did a little bit of software work. I did a lot of systems engineering, a lot of test and evaluation. I did that for a very long time. I had the benefit of working with different departments within the organization. So I had a lot of networking involved within the group.
Right.
And eventually I had an opportunity to start applying for management roles. And I missed on the first couple, then eventually I got one. Yeah. And then, that was it. You know, at that point, and that was it. And then at that point I was like, all right, I'm here. I don't have any intentions to make a move at this point. Because, you know, like, because there was a point about, I'll say 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, where I was like, all right, I'm going to try a couple shots at this management gig. And if it doesn't work out, if I can't get any of them, then I'm going to start looking. Right. Because I was doing this gig that I loved. I did a lot of interface testing, and I loved traveling to, like, different cities to check out the software and validate the software. And I was loving doing that type of stuff. Right. But then once my daughter was born, I couldn't travel at the same frequency I was doing once it got to the point where she was, you know, starting grade school. And I had no interest of being a father that just shows up on the weekend. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I made the decision to pretty much say, all right, I'm not saying that I can't travel anymore, but I can't travel 75% of the time anymore. Right. So I had to change roles. And, like, the first role they gave me after I did it, I hated it. So then I started thinking like, I had an old manager that came up to me one day and was like, I was out here hiring all these other managers and ain't qualified, and you could have done these jobs. You need to start applying for these management positions. And I'm like, all right. So I started applying for management positions. And, you know, and I started, and I missed a couple. And then I finally, I I broke through on one interview that I didn't get because of the folks that were in the room. They were like, all right, he's ready. It's just he doesn't, like, he just ran into the wrong person. So if he keeps applying, he'll probably get one. And then I got the following one. So it worked out. So I've been in management for close to 5 years at this point. I've been a manager for about 5 years now. So like right now, I'm the director of IT for my department. So I'm responsible for the entire IT infrastructure for $250 million worth of projects that come in. You know,
Right.
I work for the Department of the Navy.
Yeah.
It's a research lab based
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of Newport, Rhode Island. And I've been there the whole way, enjoyed every federal benefit that I can. But man, like, and that's the thing too, right? When you talk about how you get burned out in tech, like especially in private industry, like part of the reason why I never made the jump was because I just had no interest in having that different level of stress level, right? Like I have my stressful moments in what I do,
Right.
but like like I would go to your Lockheed Martins all the time, right? I would go there and I would see, like I would show up at the beginning of a shift because and back then I used to work 12 to 16-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So I would show up at like 8 o'clock in the morning and I would finish at like 8 p.m. and then my other cats is still there. And then sometimes I would show up at super late at night to work a third shift and them cats, the same folks are still there. Like I just could like, and I'm like, and then like, so when I was constantly seeing that, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, I enjoy where I work. It's a great place to work. I mean, there's ebbs and flows like any other company.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just couldn't, there's a different level. Like, I want to have the ability to say, I want to have that option to just do my 40 hours and go home. Like,
Right.
I want to have the opportunity, I want to have the ability to call up in the morning and say, hey, I ain't coming in for the next couple of days. And there's some companies where you cannot do that.
Right.
And I think that's something that, like, so people are like, well, you can make so much more if you go out the problem. You're right, I could probably make a lot more, but I make pretty decent money now.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. But it's just, but there's other things with working amount of line of work that you can't put a dollar to. Like, I'm not missing like events for my kids because I can take the time off and do what I need to do. Like COVID is a prime example of that. COVID has had me quarantining in this house because of folks getting it, right?
Right.
Some companies are like, no, we good. My company's like, all right, do your thing at home, make it happen, type of thing. Like, I think that matters. Like, especially in moments like this, like I've been through the financial crisis when I've had folks who lost their job.
Yeah.
And then with COVID right now, a lot of people lost their job. And like, and it's funny because like when I hired like a few folks prior to the end of the fiscal year in October, at the end of September. And the big thing I always tell them is that we're sitting here in COVID and we're still hiring. And it doesn't get any more secure than the federal government when it comes to work.
Right. Yeah, look, I took my crack at contracting, and then I didn't like the environment working with the federal government from a contractor. So I did that my first 8 years out of college, and then I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Had the clearance, had all that, whatever, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. So
yeah. No, it's different, man. Like, it's like for me, I was just like, all right. Once I found a project that I enjoyed, it was like, all right, I'm here. Like I'm rolling. And then, once my daughter was born, I still tried to make it happen. But then once it got to a point where she was about to hit grade school, I was like, all right, I can't do this
right.
anymore. So then that's when I had to navigate a little bit.
Yeah.
But now back to the question about the COVID and how COVID has changed it. Like, it's been a wild ride to say the least, because I think you know, when COVID first started, you're like super cautious because you're concerned about, because you're still trying to figure out what it is.
Right.
And the thing is, even it's the government, so we're behind. Like, we're typically slow when it comes to certain things like this, and we typically ramp it up big time. Just like, you know, the CDC has reduced the 14 days, and my company is still 14 days. Like, if you got a quarantine, it's 14 days. It's things like that, right?
Right.
So I think the big change that's happened is that, you know, you don't have everybody in the office anymore, so it makes it more challenging from that aspect. You worked in government contractors, so you understand about the clearance levels. So like, there's a lot of work that can't be done unless you go in.
Is that right?
But you got to keep the numbers down. Like, I've been trying to come in more. You know, I've been trying to come in more since once they figured out like what it is, what you could do to avoid it, what can you do to stay safe. Then all right, I was like, all right, cool, I'll come in more. And then, you know, because when my job, I mean, I'm the director of IT. I'm telling my guys to come in. So who am I to say, nah, I'm going to stay at home? Like,
Right.
I can't. In my spirit, I cannot do that.
Right.
So like, if I'm telling them to come in, I need to be there too. So I try to be there as much as I can. You know, so, you know, and I'm considered high risk. So it's just, but at the same time, I'm like, I need to come in, because if I'm expecting my guys to do the work to support the fleet, that I need to be there too.
Right.
And that's just my attitudes towards that. Um, you know, and with my line of work, they a lot of my guys need to be there. So
Yeah. Look, man, it's to watch, like, the entire world kind of shift to, kind of the work from home culture and the work from home route. Like, now, so for me, like, ever since I left the government, I mean, this is work from home's always been on the option, right? So it's like, I left and went and working for, either if I wasn't working directly for a tech company, or, had my own firm for a while, like, the work from home thing, or traveling was just kind of my thing. So I was always like, as long as I had a laptop and internet, I was able to work. So I was good. So the transition wasn't as shocking for me, but it was shocking to watch, like, literally, I mean, companies had to like turn on a dime. It was like I saw companies go 100% remote like within a day. And to watch, knowing, you know, having been a consultant, have to implement some of these software projects and go through all this stuff, like, knowing what, like, the back end infrastructure and people were going through to try and turn this on, I was just like, man, this is crazy. But I also think that it's like, I don't think we'll ever truly go back, right? I know the public sector will still kind of operate how they will. Government's going to be government all the time, but like, I don't know, man. I think this is a prolonged enough period where I think a lot of companies are just going to relook at how they do things, right? Like, do I need this big, huge 10,000 square foot lease and office space when a majority of my workers can do 90 to 100% of their job from home?
it gets hard, right? Because like you said, in the public sector, where I work, right, it's not as cut and dry. But I do
Right.
think you have to think about what your options are, because like, there's going to be work that has to be done in areas. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever get to the point, and I don't think they'll ever get to the point where you can like do secret classified stuff from home.
Oh,
Like,
never. No,
not never, right?
not
And
happening.
and you know, and it's funny. I had a conversation with gentleman that's retiring soon, and I was saying, look, man, I'm like, you think about a company like Google or Apple that works on all this stuff, but it's not federal, it's not the government. So you're not going to be able to ever have that type of lane. But I was thoroughly impressed how quick they got us the tools to make it work. Because it had to be like, remember, right? It's the government, so the government's slow. The bureaucracy and everything when it comes to the government, it's always the deterrence of a lot of things. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I was thoroughly impressed how quick and how the infrastructure held up when everybody was teleworking. I was impressed. There are flaws, no question about it, but I was thoroughly impressed how it held up, because I did not think it would hold up, because I know about how the network is at work. So I did not think it held up very well. I was thoroughly impressed of how well it held up. Now, and then how quick they got us tools so we can actually have the interaction with folks, because the face-to-face, because like the thing with me too, man, like I recruit at my company too. So like I hire a lot of talent. So for me, it's important to make sure that Olive Branch is there for the new professionals, so they don't look like they're like out there on their own.
Right.
Like it's already hard as it is transitioning to the federal government when you first get there as it is. And now on top of that, you got COVID to deal with. You don't have that option to just pull somebody when you go into the office, right? So it's something that I had to learn throughout the year. Like it was like, but I got it now, you know, and I was able to get it before I hired the 5 people that I hired. But it's still like, it's different, right? Like they created this branch for me. So they created this branch, so I had people under me, and it stood up right at COVID. Like April of like, I was a supervisor from like 2016 to 2018. At the end of 2018, I got promoted, and then I got promoted for my supervisor work, and then I went on vacation. One of my line brothers got married, so I went to Jamaica to his wedding. I come back. The guy that ran IT, the TPM for IT, the technical program manager for IT, he took another gig. So I come back from vacation and was asked to take the role on. So that meant that I had to give up my supervisor duty to do it. And I said, look, I'll do it, but it can't be like this. Like I need you guys I need like a branch. Put some people under me. Put some people under me. Let me try to make this work the right way. Because the way that it was working before, it just, it was impossible. Like it was no way, right? So the department head at the time, he said, all right, we'll do it, right? So I'm thinking, all right, cool. So at this point, we're at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. They didn't stand it up until late March, early April of 2020. So it took over a year for it to officially.
Of course it did. It's the government.
Like, I got a lot of theories, but I think like there was another thing going on in another department, and it was, and my thing got caught up in that. So I had to wait on that. And so when it finally happened, it was COVID. So I couldn't like have like a branch meeting. Now granted, most of the folks within the branch already knew who I was. I was the branch head before. So it wasn't too bad, but like it was just the fact that I normally would meet with my entire branch every month,
right,
or weekly now, because I want to make sure everything's good. I gave everybody my personal cell, so if they needed something, don't hesitate to call. It's so much different now. Like it's so much different. And I can't wait till everybody can come back in, so I can try to have some level of structure within a branch, because I have it, but it's not the same. And I feel for folks who've never been a manager before, because it's tough. Oof. And we got a lot of young ones too. So like I know it's tough, because it's tough. It's tough when everybody's in. So I can only imagine, and I know that it's tough when everybody's not in all the time.
Right.
And trying to keep track of where everybody's at. So it's a lot. It's just, and then to still execute the mission and all that too.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back after the break, I'm gonna ask. So David and I have a mutual friend through the craziest of circumstances. So I want to hear the story of how he met our mutual friend, and we'll talk a little bit about how I know him. We're gonna do that all after the break. Be right back. Happy and excited to tell you about the Jumpstart Awards brought to you by On the Corner Media. Hey, the Jumpstart Awards are a great way to get your career started, either IT or cybersecurity. It's sponsored by On the Corner Media as well as our good partner Uber Ether. And here's how this works. Basically, you go to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards and you enter in and see if you qualify. Right? We're so excited to do this and give back to the community. What we're doing as part of the awards is that 3 lucky participants will get a full year's access to Coursera.org. The other 3 will get 6 months access. And so what we want to provide is make sure that you have a pathway to get to the education and things that you need without having to pay the absorbent cost. So again, head to onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards, fill out your first name, last name, email address, and a link to a video just explaining why you want to jump into cybersecurity or why you want to jump on IT and what this award would mean to you. And we're going to keep this going until we give all awards out. So again, onthecorner.us/jumpstart-awards. Thanks. See you later, C3 Squad. So we're back. Like I said before the break, so Dave and I have a mutual friend. And then I realized that we just jumped straight into it. So for everybody that's listening to C3 Squad, David and I, we went to school together in North Carolina A&T, both a computer science program. And look, I can't speak for no other engineering degree, but when I tell you, like the people that you meet in comp sci, like it's a whole different type of bond because some of the shit you go through to get through some of these courses, boy, I'm trying to tell you.
I see you got your degree in the back. Like I haven't looked at my degree in years. My degree is sitting in a chest somewhere over the same chest I had in college. Matter of fact, and sitting there with my graduation, my pamphlet, whole nine. It's and that trunk has made it to multiple apartments in the great state of Rhode Island, and it ended up in my house.
Look, I finally actually got my degree framed probably about a year ago, and then I just found my my commencement pamphlet, maybe about a month or so ago. And obviously now that I'm packing up and getting ready to move again, I found some more stuff. I found my official transcripts.
Well, the thing is, I work for the federal government. I have to have my official transcripts to apply for any job.
No, I did too. So that's why I had it, because when I started. So my first job was with Lockheed Martin. I was getting my clearance, so they had needed my transcripts. Mm-hmm. All right, so real quick, we're gonna tell this story, then we're gonna get to the mutual friend. So let me tell you how I almost drove to North Carolina to whoop up on Dr. Esterline. So it was the last class, right? I forget, comp 690, whatever it is, but it was all online. It was the first time I'm about to date myself. But we had just started using Blackboard at A&T, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Dr. Esterline didn't really know, I won't say he didn't really know how to use it, but he was using it in a different way than the instructions we had explained. Long story short, I put all my homework in one folder. He was looking at a different folder, right? So he gives me an F, and I'm like, whoa. Like, he goes, you didn't turn in any homework or something. I was like, you're kidding me. They're all in the folder. He's like, I don't see any of them. And so like we're going back and forth over email. I'm calling because I didn't got this offer letter and they're asking for my transcripts and my official degree. So I'm like, bruh, like you fucking with my lifeline right here. Like I'm trying to so I mean, dude, we going back and forth over email. I'm calling. And finally I got him on the phone and I was like, okay, look. I was like, Dr. Esterline. I walked in, I was like, here. Here's where my homework. He goes, oh, well, that's an interesting place to put it. I didn't think to look there. So he's like, I'll get this corrected and add into it, right? I was like, all right, bet. He was supposed to do that at the end of the week. He goes on vacation and forgets to tell me. So like 2 weeks go by and they email me, he's like, hey, we still haven't got your transcripts. And I'm like, he's not responding to emails, calling, can't get nobody. Like, Dave, when I tell you I was about to get in my car and roll hard back down 85, and I was coming to A&T ready to flip some tables and more. So that's the reason why I had so many copies of my transcript, because I had multiple copies sent. So anyway, found the other day, open, and I was like, I graduated by the grace of God. So
it's funny because my high school game was trash. In high school I struggled. It was about the grace of God I got an A&T. Because my GPA in high school was like a 2.6. So like it was, but my SAT scores, I had like a 630 in math. So like I think that kind of saved me to get into the college of engineering, right?
Yeah.
So like when I got the T, I had a point to prove because I needed to. For one, I was on a internal clock because I didn't think I was gonna be able to borrow enough money to pull this off. And then, so when after the first year, and I started getting some scholarship money, and then after the second year, when Newick came in and covered my tuition, I was golden. At that point, I was like, all right, I can finish now, and I ain't got to borrow no more money. And then like I would always get these random scholarships from all the donations from the college of engineering at the time. So it was great. And they always came in time. Like I would be like, damn, I need some money for X. Yeah, like it was just amazing. And all of a sudden I would get a phone call from Dowdy like, yeah, man, IBM sent you $1,000. I was like, I'll be right there. I'll walk over there and give my $1,000 and keep it moving. Because I didn't work. Like the only jobs I had was on campus stuff. Like I was a TA, and then then my senior year I was a supplementary instructor. But like I came to the conclusion that I would rather just be broke and just and not worry about like the fashion and all the other hoopla, and just focus on my studies, because I wasn't interested in working. Like UPS was begging me to go to work, because I know that's where you worked while you was there. And I had absolutely no interest in injuring all my body parts.
So let me tell you this. Worst fucking job I've ever had in my life. But at some
point you weren't doing like manual labor though. At some point, like I think you at one point weren't you like working in the office?
No, yeah. So I started manual labor. I started loading them damn trucks.
Nah.
It's a skill that you would never forget, because if I take you to my garage right now, immaculately packed because of UPS.
Dude, I will never forget when I first moved on campus. And I remember my mother was there with me when we were moving. And you know who else was there when we were moving? UPS. And UPS was trying to convince me to get the job. And my mother was like, just go and get that job. You know, they're paying like $12, $13 an hour. You go up there and do all that lifting. I'm like, nah, I'm good. It was like, I'll be broke. She's like, because you're like, I ain't got no money like that. So, I can't really help you. Like, don't worry. I will figure this out. And I figured it out.
I knew after the first week what grown man tired was. Like, I had been through hell week, again, dating my age, right? When football, it was legal to have your ass practicing 2 and 3 times a day in the middle of 100-degree heat. You can't do that no more. And I was nowhere near as tired as I was working at UPS. I was dog tired coming back from UPS.
It was only like 5 hour. It was only like 5 hour shifts too, right?
Yes, 5 to 6 hours.
But that was the thing they was trying to convince me. It's like, oh, you only got to work 5 hours a day,
bruh.
And I'm like, I was like, nah, I'm good.
Work, like, bruh, like you're in a truck and literally there's a chute at the back of your leg and boxers just coming, and it's nonstop. They don't stop. Like you just get in and so for 5 hours, like you're just moving. Like, yeah. Anyway, so
back to the mutual friend.
Yeah, back to mutual friend. So this was, when did Chris, was like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago? Chris hit us up, or Chris hit me up on, he was a post on Facebook or something like that. And he either tagged me or he sent me something on Messenger. And he was like, yo, man, look who I know. I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, that's David Rhodes. So where did y'all actually meet at?
Oh, Chris, so random. So like up here, they have this thing called the Wave Maker Fellowship.
Okay.
And this is a perk that I push to try to get these youngins up to my job, because I got to find some way to compete with all these other companies, right? So the thing about the Wave Maker Fellowship, like if you live in the state, if you work for the state of Rhode Island in a STEM field, they will give you a grant to help pay off your school loans. So up to like a certain amount. And at the time, I only had like $3,000 or $4,000 left. So I was just like, well, if I get them to pay off my last $4,000, I'm golden. And they did. So the thing about that fellowship was that they would have events. And I ran into Chris at that event. And like he mentioned you, and I'm like, oh shit. So it's a small world. Like,
yeah.
So You know, so like, nah, me, you know, I don't like, the thing is, man, ever since I moved up here, like, I don't really go out like that. Like, I don't, and it's not because I don't want to deal with people. It's just, I just don't. Like, I just
Right.
don't go out like that. And then with everything with work, and then at one point when I was working on my master's and everything else, so I don't really get to go out and mingle like that. So like, I ran into him randomly, and it was kind of crazy. But we chopped it up. We hit it off gate. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since then, ironically enough. But we're friends on Facebook, and so we'll chop it up occasionally there. But yeah, man, crazy, huh?
Yeah. Like, and how I met Chris was super. So I thought it was super random. It was actually planned. So my cousin helped do a lot of logistics with the Tapia Supercomputer Conference, and so this was 10 years ago now, probably a little bit more, because his daughter is getting ready to go to college. So man, time flies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to the Tapia conference, and so my cousin had. First I didn't want to go because I was like, man, like it's a bunch of young kids there, all this stuff, whatever. Like I don't know if I want to be around a bunch of college kids, all this stuff, whatever. He's like, nah, man, go, go, go. So I was like, all right, bet. Um, so I go to the conference, and we had to have roommates, and I'm like, I'm grown, bro. Like I'm not. I was like, I'm no longer in college. I'm not trying to do this roommate thing. Like, what do you like? This is not. I'm not trying to be with some 23, 24-year-old kid like coming out of college. Like I'm just like nah. So little did I know, my cousin hooked it up to where me and Chris would be roommates because Chris was older, right? So we were around the same age. And man, like so I get there and we just like I mean instant connect, right? So we just vibing talking about like as I was like, yeah, I used to, be in the area, I lived in Northern Virginia, used to come down to DC. And Chris was like, man, you know what I miss? And I was like, go music. He was like, yeah. And we just do the whole weekend we just vibed into meeting him. This dude named Sid, who I swear, Sid, I've shouted you out a number of times. I'm gonna keep saying it. I swear this man is gonna win a Nobel Peace Prize. This dude, man, when I met him, super young, super smart, right? I had never like just smart and smart in a very good, dangerous way. What I mean by like his intellect was so sharp and the way that he was using, you know, the theories that he was using and the way that he was thinking, I was like, man, this dude's gonna do something. Like he's literally gonna do something special. I still believe that to this day. So Sid, when you see this, when you hear this, I'm expecting big things from you. I don't want nothing. Just when you get your Nobel Peace Prize, shout me out in the speech. That's all I'm saying. Be like, there's this guy who's
I
crazy.
say you didn't want nothing though.
Look, that ain't nothing. That's just a shout out. Look, I don't want no money. I ain't gonna come for nothing. Just be like, there was this crazy guy I met at this Tapia conference. He told me one day I won a Nobel Peace Prize. That's it. You ain't even got to mention my name, Sid. I just want you to know. That's how much I believe you. No, but this kid was super smart. But yeah, man, we stayed in contact since then. So chop it up all the time, go back and forth. He's like, it's rare that you meet people that you can have like literally good debates with. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love and respect about Chris is that we can talk about anything, but we don't always agree on stuff. And it's like I actually want to talk to him more about stuff that we don't agree with because I just learned so much from those conversations. And he's such an adult about it that we could just literally disagree but have conversations. I'm like, where did we miss this in life? Where it's like,
Because we don't deal with adults. That's part of the issue, sir. No, we don't. Like, I mean, because the thing is, it's like you have so many folks that it's my way or the highway, right?
yeah,
Like, and you're never going to be able to get any type of level. You're not going to ever get no level of progress done when it comes to life. You're never going to get anything completed. Like we just saw that last week. Like, if you want to keep it a buck, like it's not even about whether you. It's all about just trying to have conversations about it. You don't
right,
have to always agree with everybody.
yeah,
That's never the intention.
right.
Because everybody agree with everybody, this place would suck, man. You can't.
There,
No.
no, there would be there would be nothing pushing us to, you know, confrontation and friction, right? Is what causes I believe this causes innovation in ways that to look at things, right? You get hit up
Mm-hmm.
against something and you're like, this causes discomfort or some kind of, like I said, friction. And so you want to get past it. So if we're always agreeing, we're never going to think to look at something and try and do it differently, right? So
Yep.
uh, that's much for a different podcast. So two more topics before the kind of main event topic that I told you about that we are going to do. I want to talk
Yep.
to you, especially because you do a lot of hiring, right? So one of the things that I talk about a lot on this podcast, that just kind of naturally came into it, and that I do a lot of different speaking about, is diversity and inclusion, especially in tech, right?
Yep.
Because it's horrible, right? We know the numbers, we know what it looks like, but I want to hear your take. One, because you're in the public sector, but two, because you actually hire. Like, what are some of the challenges that you've seen, and what are some things that over the course of your career have you seen it change? Is it getting better? What are some things that you've seen that have worked, that have not worked? So I just do a whole lot of questions at you, but
Nah, I mean,
all right, dude.
when you talk about diversity and inclusion, I think the first step of that is that you have to make a decision on what you mean by diversity, right? Because a lot of people think that diversity is different things. Like some people think diversity is just, you know, women, like, because there's a shortage of women
Right.
in tech, and that is true. There is. Ironically enough, since I've been in the federal government, if I count up the time that I've had male bosses versus female bosses, the females are kicking ass. Truth be told, like, but that's just for me. Like even when I went to T, like when I was just a freshman, the TAs were female. You know what I'm saying?
That is
like I had
true.
Antrell, I had Antrell, and I had Zabeda, and I had Byron, but like they were female.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and then when I got into private industry, when I got into the government, I just had my first male boss longer than 3 months just recently. Like my last boss, and he just moved on to another position.
Right.
He was my boss for close to 18 months. That's the longest time I've had a male boss since I've been in the industry. Since I've been in the industry full time. And before that, 3 months tops.
Right.
I had female bosses for years. So it's just, so like that's one level, right? And then you start thinking, all right, what about like whether they're part of the LGBT community, or if you're a person of color. So then, because it's all there when you think about diversity. Then what about locations? Right? That's the diverse thing too, because you don't want to have a bunch of people from the same region you're trying to build all this great tech. You don't want everybody, like, I don't want everybody from Rhode Island working where I work. No, I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
right? Because you want to have diverse thought. Like, right. You want to have folks from California. You want to have folks from Texas and New York and the Carolinas and Florida. Like, you want to have folks from everywhere. So it's about how you want to divvy that up.
Right.
But when you start talking about diversity when it comes to people of color, you got to know where to look. And I think, there's a reason why A&T, Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, FAM, Norfolk State, SC State, and Claflin. Like, I don't want to miss any because I'm going to get assassinated by your viewers.
That's okay. You could have just stopped at A&T. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I know we could have, but there's about 100 of them. There's over 100 of them. I mean, there's only one A&T, but it's about 100 of them, and I know I didn't name them all.
Right.
But my point is that there's a reason why there's a certain standard there, and why these companies keep going there, is because those companies aren't looking for us elsewhere, and the numbers show it.
Right.
Like, the numbers show it, and I think that's the challenge that a lot of, and it's not just my company, that's the challenge that a lot of companies are dealing with right now, because with everything that happened last year with the social unrest, everything that's been going on for years, right? Now companies figure it out. Now companies get it, but now they got to figure out how to do it. And you got idiots like the CEO of Wells Fargo talking about, well, we ain't got enough talented folks, which isn't true. You just ain't looking.
Right.
You ain't looking at the right spots. And like, I think for me, the biggest challenge I have is that we've improved in recruiting at different schools, more schools with a diverse background. But I think the challenge at this point is to get the folks up there. Like, it's hard to convince somebody from the Carolinas or from Alabama or from Georgia to come up to New England. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's a hard sell. Like I can't compete with Cali. The only thing I can compete with Cali is the fact that you guys are way more expensive than us. Because we got beaches, we get 4 seasons, and you guys probably, and the thing is, if you live in Cali, you ain't getting 4 seasons. Unless you're,
but that's a feature, right?
It is a feature, right? It's
right,
a feature.
It's a feature.
No, but my point is that like I think I think as a company we've improved a lot. I don't think we're there, but I always say that if you don't put in the work where the work needs to be put in, the work that means you're probably not putting in enough work everywhere else you're going to, right?
Right.
So like, like I think the big thing is that at one point we were getting a decent chunk of declines, because even like when we go down the A&T, I would recruit an A&T and I would give on the spot offers, and a lot of the times folks weren't coming. But what's happening too is that now even like some of the schools around the local area, they're getting more declines too. So when they fix that problem, it might help out and fix the other problems as well. That's just me. This is my opinion on it. But it's hard. And I think and the thing is, everybody was up in arms last year, but you have to figure out what will it take to get more people of color in the right roles to make a change. Like, I think part of the reason why I had an interest in being in management is because I wanted to be that agent of change, right? Like, I felt like I could be in the room where it happens and try to express an opinion on like how we can do things better. Because, an injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere, right? Yeah. And I think that you gotta try to push forward, and it's important to try to have folks to come with you too, and that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah. Look, it definitely is. I was just doing an interview with a gentleman in the cybersecurity field, Marcus Carey, and he was making this statement like, he really he got all the way real with it and was like, the fact of the matter is, a lot of the times that I think he thinks about the people that he works with, he's like, I don't work with a lot of Latinos or Black people or women. He goes like, you are going to think about your immediate circle when you're focused, and you're like, if a position comes up, you go, oh, I'm gonna go back and hire this person from this company or this company, and it's like there's 2 things that are going on. Is number one, yes, we have to get more people, quote unquote, develop the pipeline, but get more people in, so that way the people that are in here, like, nepotism is a real thing, right? You hire based on kind of what's around you, and as you kind of, I won't put words in your mouth. I know for me, when I became a manager, part of the thing is I look for specific type of personalities and what I need for this project to go, right? So like, and I'm going to go back through my career and go, I need people that are like this. And if all I've been around with a certain type of people, like, that's where I'm going to go grab, right? It's harder when you become a manager and you've got projects to do. Every single manager would tell you, if you've had like good team members, you would want them same team members everywhere, because you can go execute. Versus it's a little harder. Like, I got to go get this unknown, figure them out, develop them, and keep going. Not that I wouldn't do that, I would. But here's, for me, what I would do for their development. It's like, okay, if I got a team of 5, at most 3 are going to be newbies, probably really 2. I want a majority of people that I've worked with that they understand my management style, they know what's going on. Because not only am I going to work with those new 2, I need that other team to mentor them too. Like, I need the whole team to accelerate and groom them so they can get up to go, right? I can't do that with 5 new straight people. I mean, you can, but it's hard because you still have to.
Well, it's funny you say that, because like at my company, the past 6 years now, 6 or 7 years, we've been hiring like crazy, like insanely crazy, right? So, but the thing is that it's difficult to get journeymen and women here because we can't compete salary wise. It's the federal government. So, so you sometimes you don't have a choice but to have a bunch of new. And the thing is, and most program managers have no interest in just having newbies. But at the same time, you can't come to me saying, I need help. This is what I got.
Right.
So if I'm, because the thing is, like, when I first became a supervisor, I the first 3 years that I was a supervisor, I hired 17 people. And like in the federal government, hiring like 6 a year for just my branch.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like to put it in perspective, when I started, I was in the orientation with 2 other people. That was it. It was 3 of us. And the other 2 don't even work there anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm the last one left of that mix, because at the time they weren't really hiring like that.
Right.
But like, because of the fact that there's a lot of folks that are retiring, they gotta refill.
Yeah.
And they can't refill with journeymen because we can't compete.
Right.
Right? Because of like, I'll tell folks all the time, I probably can convince somebody to take a $10,000 pay cut. Once I hit 10K, I can't find it. I can't find the path there, because like I could brag about all the other things and about the federal government, but most of the time you probably get more vacation when you start here, because I'm only going to be able to give you 13 days a year. Like this, it's a lot. Like there's a lot of things I can get you, and there's a lot of things I cannot get you.
Right.
So, but like when you start thinking about hiring a group of people, like I remember when I first started hiring, I was just, I'll never forget my first 3 new hires. I hired a kid that was local from UMass Dartmouth. I hired a kid a young lady from A&T, and I hired a young man from University of Puerto Rico. And those are the first 3 I brought in. And I remember I had ideas for them, and by the time they showed up, those ideas changed. But they're all doing great. And but like when it comes to like bringing in people, it's just a matter of trying to. For me, when I recruit, and this is probably like just a secret of mine that I normally do, like people always, when they recruit, they're like, well, I got to get the perfect person. I got to get this, that, and the other thing. And in my eyes, I'm like, I work for the federal government. I'm not going to be able to get the 3.9 GPA. It'll be nice. It'd be nice if I get the kid with the 4.0. It'd be nice. And I could try, don't get me wrong. And I do try, but I got to be realistic about the fact that Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft will all outbid me, because I can't negotiate. My number's my number. So, so I hire folks who want to work, who are teachable, and who has a goal, right? And then we go from there, because it's up to the folks that are already there to teach, and it's up to me as a supervisor to coach.
Right.
Because it'd be great if I could just bring people in that can just go, but like I think I've hired total, because I took a year off of being a manager to become a manager again. I think I've hired like 24 people total, right? And out of those 24, I think I've only hired like 5 of them who've had experience. Everybody else is straight out of college.
Right.
So, and the thing is, and everything had to fall right for me to get the 5 that I got. Like even some of the folks that I graduated that were fresh out of college. Like I hired one kid while I was crashing a wedding. Like, and we could talk about that story another day, like another time. But yeah, but I hired one kid while I was crashing a wedding, and I'll tell you how it happened. I'll just do a quick rundown. So I was down south for NFL training camp, because I back then I would go to Panthers training camp. So I went to Greensboro to meet up with another kid that I hired from A&T, Jeremy. Shout out to Jeremy. And I hired him, so I wanted to take him out to lunch while I was in the area. So I took him out to lunch. And then while I was in Greensboro, I went to go see one of my line brothers. And they was like, yeah, man, they're at a wedding, another, one of our friend brothers is getting married. So I was like, all right, Dad, I'll just go by and just congratulate him and leave. So I went over there. I went to the wedding. I was not dressed for this wedding. I just want to be clear. I was not dressed for a wedding. So I went to the wedding. I went to near the reception, and I said, "Hey," I was like, "I just want to congratulate him on his marriage and stuff, right?" And so then, like, they were getting married next to the Civil Rights Museum, where it had the at Woolsworth's. Yep. So I was like, all right. So I was like, well, appreciate it. I, chopped up with him real quick, and then I left. And I went to the Civil Rights Museum, and I checked out the tour, which, by the way, the next time you're in Greensboro, bro, you need to take some time to go over to Woolsworth. It's pretty dope.
Okay.
So I went through the whole thing, and then I got a text right after it was over. I was getting ready to drive back to South Carolina. And I got a text that was like, "Yo, man, come back to the reception." And I'm like, all right, bet. So I came back to the reception. I chopped it up. They was like, "We got to drink over this open bar." And I was like, "Oh, don't say anything. I got you." So, I'm chopping it up with Frat, chopping it up with the bride and the groom. We're talking and all the other stuff. I'm definitely not dressed for this occasion. I do not care. And another one of my buddies came up to me, and I was trying to recruit him about a year before that, but he said he already had a job lined up. And he was like, "Are you guys still hiring?" And I was like, "I thought you already had a job." And he was like, nah, I need a gig. And I was like, bachelor's or master's. "Oh, yeah, resume, transcript. I'll call you tonight." So then, like, in the meantime, he sent me the resume, he sent me the transcript. I called him, tried to figure out what the hell happened, because GPA was fine. Grades were good. We were good to go. He explained to me what happened, and I'm like, "They're dumbasses. Don't worry. We're going to give you an offer." Then I just called my boss. I called the deputy, who also was an Aggie at the time. He's an Aggie. And I was like, "Look, man, here's the deal. I got this kid. You got to bill it. I want the billet." He gave me the billet. Offer came out. He got there. And, like, normally to get hired in the government, it typically takes months. We're talking like 3-6 months. Mm-hmm. I got him in there in less than 45 days. Because I had to get him in there before the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
So I met him in August. I ran into him in August, and he was starting by the end of September. Clearance, all that.
There you go. And look, for everybody listening, look, because I get a lot of people, that hit me up, or I'm in conversation, they ask me, like, how to get into cybersecurity, all these different things or whatever. But, like, and I tell people, was like, the biggest thing I learned from A&T, I'll never forget, I was in this, I don't know if it was colloquium or somebody, colloquium, whatever. Somebody came in and spoke, whatever, but it was like, your network is your net worth, right? And I was just like, and they kept preaching network. And for everybody listening, like, you just saw, like, how that works, right? And literally, when I tell you, this is how it works over and over and over again. I have not applied for a job in over 10 years. Yeah. Right? Now, granted, Davis had the same job, so he ain't had to either. But it's like, I just
but the thing is that it's not like that nobody's came to me and was like, "Yo, do you want to do something?" But right. It's just for me, it's gonna take a lot for me to make a move.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just set, like, man. I'm at the point. Like I have overran my welcome. Like I have exceeded the expectation that I thought I was going to get out of this gig. Yeah. Like I'm playing with house money at this point. And I tell folks that all the time. Like, I'm like, when I made the decision, because typically, like, in my line of work, most folks retire as a GS-13. Most folks, that's it. Like, and being a 13 is a pretty big deal, because 13s are kind of hard to come by, except in DC. DC, they give out 14, 15s like candy. But, like, anywhere else, 13 is like, getting to 13, you where you need to be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But, like, and I knew, like, all right, I'm probably end up retired as a maxed out GS-13. GS-13 is like 130 a year or whatever it is. So, like, I'm gonna get a pension, retirement. Yeah. I can start dipping in Social Security at 57. I can roll with that. I'm good. Like, I can live off that, because I've made the right investments in my 401k or whatever. And then, like, the management opportunities came, and I've exceeded that. Like, I've exceeded it big time, and I'm glad it felt it the way that it did. But, like, I would have been fine if like, and I tell folks all the time when I became a supervisor, like, why do you want to be a supervisor? You just want to get promoted, didn't you? I was like, nah, I actually enjoy this because the money isn't everything to me. Because if it's everything to me, then I would just try to apply for everything imaginable. But that's not me. So but networking is important, man. Like, if I ever wanted to make a move, I don't think I'm going to have too much trouble doing it. Right. Like, and I think that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
I just can't convince myself at this point. I'm halfway in my career, and I'm pretty much.
Look, man, I think, one of the things that I think people get lost when you look at your career and the things you put together is like, what are you, number one, like, are you doing something that you love to do? Do you feel like, not necessarily comfortable, but like, are you at peace with where you're at? And do you see things that you constantly feel like, yes, I can make improvements. I can keep going to this. And then, like, the one that I think people say for granted, like, are you happy every day? And if you got those things, man, it's like, wow.
Happiness is a balance too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, people are like, well, I want to be happy every day. And I'm like, all right, so you want to be happy every day. But there's a point where, like, you're going to have to do things that you're not going to enjoy at your line of work. How do you handle that? Right. So like, and I tell folks, I'm like, when I took this position, like, I got promoted, and a month later they asked me to take this role. And I'm like, I really don't. Initially, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. But then at the same time, I'm like, but they need my help, and I think I can make things better.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like, all right, let's go. Right, let's do this. And it's just like any gig, it's ebbs and flows. There's some days where I'm like, oh, this is brutal. I remember I'll never forget the first week. The first week when I took this role, man, I just remember I took the role, I had the first meeting, and I got darts everywhere. Like, I was getting attacked. I felt like I was getting attacked. And the thing is, and I know nobody means bad about it, like, and that's part of the gig, because you're it, because now you own this. This is what you decided to take over. This is yours. This is your baby. You got to take care of this baby. And I'm like, all right, fine. But I just remember after the first meeting, and I remember after it ended, I looked around and I was like, yeah, I'm not coming in for the rest of the week. I was like, I gotta sit this one down. I gotta figure this one out. And I just needed that, because I had to take in what I took over, right, and then figure it out. And I did, and it worked out. Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a good group of people to work with. But they got to keep me accountable, just like I keep them accountable.
Absolutely. You got to keep grinding. Wraps up part 1 of the video review. Be sure to check out next week for part 2. We're going to get into the top 10. Don't forget to sign up for the C3 Squad hotline, 909-487-8741. I want to hear what your top 10 is. So then, to the next cocktail, to the next conversation, stay safe out there. So